What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another excellent episode of Lag Comp Podcast. My beautiful, nearly transparent co-host is Eddie the Chump. How's it going?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm practically radiating at the moment, it seems. My webcam makes me look like I'm actually just glowing with incandescence.
I feel I know you so well. I see to your inner being, the inside of
Yeah,
your soul. I'm nearly
you're
inside you right
seeing,
now.
yeah, you're seeing right through me. Remember that internet gay is not the same as real world gay, as you and I have both found out.
Do you have a definition of internet gay?
Yeah, we're internet gay.
I didn't say this, by the way. I have not said this on record, so just pointing that out. You
No,
said it first.
I'm just trying to make Frito uncomfortable. But yeah, I consider us internet gay.
I mean, I figure if it's just the tip, like, it doesn't count. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
You know, this is pretty funny because I'm pretty sure the guy who sponsored the show explicitly did not want any of this kind of talk. While you already paid, I don't care. No, I'm just playing. He kind of didn't want this. But our sponsor today, who definitely does not have any gay shit on his channel at all whatsoever, is Scorpius. Which, by the way, have you noticed how cozy I am in this beautiful layout? Look, I'm all like in frame and everything. Oh my god! And you know, it's just beautiful when two creative minds can come together on an agreement, and one has talent, and the other one has artistic direction that's just, you know, needs a channel. It's so great that I can use Eddie like this. He's definitely the bottom.
Yeah.
But
So viewers, basically what happened is that Frito said make an overlay, and then I made the beautiful thing that you're looking at now. And he was like, I don't like, if you can see in the top left-hand corner, you can see that LagComp Podcast actually doesn't have a capital L. And as you can see by my lower third that says I'm a lowercase faggot and Frito has capitalization is manly, we disagreed vehemently about whether to have a capital L. And I told him as a designer, look, you're ruining the treatment. Don't get in the way of the designer. He knows what he's talking about. And he wouldn't listen, so he made me do a version that actually had a capital L. And lo and behold, it didn't look as good, and we're back to my glorious invention that was all totally me and had nothing to do with Frito. I didn't use the colors from his favorite football team, the Green Bay Packers, whatsoever. There's no green or orange or black in this layer, as you can plainly see. So yeah, I mean, just revel in my artistic genius. What do you reckon?
The only reason why the capital didn't look right is because he fucked up the layout of it in the first place. He had to split it up in this like cute little package where, just look at the branding. The viewers of this show demand strong branding of the show. They want that. I guarantee you. And I asked on
And
Twitter.
now they've got it.
Shut the. The sponsor of the show, his name is Scorpius. His link is in the. Hold on. Wait. Annotation. Whatever. The fucking picture to my left. My immediate left, Scorpius. He makes what I will call. He didn't tell me what the hell he did. He's like, oh, check out my channel. Fine. Okay, I'll watch like 10 videos or whatever. He makes Battlefield films, I'll call them. They're kind of. It's a lot of similar to things that I do. He does things in spectator mode, and he'll give like flyovers and gives. They're short films of like craziness happening in Battlefield, essentially, and very music driven, interesting stuff. Doesn't have many subscribers, so go ahead and just plop a sub. Just plop it. It's free. Just hit the goddamn button. Do it for him. Make sure his money's actually going somewhere. So, what do you want to talk about today, Eddie?
Well, the first subject, we're going to get to quite a few, but the first one is I saw a video that was made by Optic Scumpy during the week where he was discussing whether Titanfall is like suitable for competitive, and I mean, long story short, he was like, no, loads of shit would have to be taken out, like the Titans would have to be taken out, and I was just like, this guy, I normally like Optic Scumpy, he's quite a likable person, but I mean, we've had this discussion off camera, like, does everything need to have competitive? Like, I think people were under this misconception that competitive grows the game, whereas that's not true. Okay, let me just, if you're one of those guys that is signed up to game battles and you've got an account and you think you're really good at Call of Duty and you think you're part of the hot scene, let me just tell you that the competitive scene of Call of Duty is fucking tiny. And I'm not saying it's not important and it's not relevant, but it's tiny compared to the public matches and how important that is for the game. And I was watching Scumpy and he was like, it would have to be taken out and the bots would have to be taken out and it would have to be human versus human. And I was just like, this guy cannot understand that maybe the competitive Titanfall would be different than anything he's seen before. That it doesn't have to be exactly as every other first-person shooter competitive has been. It doesn't have to be like anything else. It can be its own thing, and they can figure out a new way to be competitive. I mean, that's the first point. The second point is, does it need to be, man? Like, does everything need a fucking, like, hardcore GB sweaty, you know, virgin community to make a game popular or to get, like, lend it relevance? I don't think it does. As far as I'm concerned, like, Titanfall is a really, really fun game, and you've played it since our last show where me and Weagle just basically blew it for fucking 2 hours and said it was amazing. And I think you'll agree with me. Like, it's just such a fun game. Like, why is everyone scrambling to change it already? Like, it's not even out yet. I mean, this is a beta. He played, like, 1 game mode, maybe, and, like, 2 maps. And he's like, no, this would have to change. The Titans, you know, they're not OP, but they're hard to take down, and they'd have to go. And I was like, why, man? Like, why would you take the most defining feature of the game out? Why wouldn't you create a competitive framework that incorporated that? Why would you just try and make it COD? And he's like, well, the maps would have to be smaller. And I'm like, you're not getting it. You're just not getting it.
Well, you kind of said 2 things that I would like to address. I don't necessarily like what you said, but one thing. Competitive doesn't build these games. Competitive doesn't build console games. It doesn't build casual games. But on the PC, competitive builds tons of games. But that's because the game from the get-go was engineered to play better when it's played competitively. I think Titanfall has that, and I'll come get to that in a second. But when you take something like COD, it plays just totally different competitively because it has to, because it's not built to be able to handle that. Games like League of Legends, StarCraft, Dota, Counter-Strike Go. I cannot stand playing Counter-Strike Go. I'm sorry. People say, oh, I'm trying, but it's just not fun casually to me whatsoever. But if I watch a CSGO tournament, I can actually enjoy it and get into it and enjoy the engagements and the strategy that's going on, whereas it's not as good as casual. So I think in the PC side of things, competitive definitely can build a game, and the casual interest kind of trickles down because there's somebody to look at. Because oftentimes PC games are a lot harder, which is more relevant to actual sports, where sports are difficult and you don't watch because Americans especially, we watch football. 99% of us are not athletic enough to do anything on a football field, but we all watch it because it's something bigger and better. So there's kind of that dual dimension to it as well. Like, do you want to build an esport game? Do you want to build a casual game? So Titanfall, as a casual game, if you're looking to put it into competitive, I think you're hitting the nails on the head there, that it's completely ludicrous to, first of all, stop listening to competitive guys. The players don't know shit. They don't know anything. Their opinion is not relevant to anything. It does not matter what they think. In my opinion, players have way too much control on COD, on any esport that's not StarCraft, essentially. If players had their control in the devs control StarCraft, bro. Like, if something needs to be changed, we'll take care of it, we'll balance it this way. But you have to play our game. You have to play our rule set, and players have to dance within that. I don't give a shit if Scumpy doesn't care about Titans. I want to see a goddamn Titan explode. I want to see you have to deal with the Titan in creative ways, not create a new version of COD where it's like you have to. The league has to design the game to be engineered. It's the same thing with game balance. It has to be engineered to be designed to play a certain way, which Titanfall has. We've been talking about this quite extensively. I've made many videos about it. Eddie and Liam's talked about it at length last show. It has to be designed to be played in a certain way, certain expectations of what those rule sets are, how to defeat problems in the engine, in the game, and then you go from there. Pros have to elevate to the challenges, not re-engineer the challenges so it fits to what they're comfortable with. The game's not supposed to make you feel comfortable.
That's my point. My point is like you can't say that a game isn't suitable for competitive if its skill set is outside of yours, or you would have to change up slightly. Like that's not the relevant point. The relevant point is, could you see this game being exciting in a competitive environment? And that's, I can obviously see Titanfall being exciting. It's exciting to watch anyway. It's exciting to kill bots. I mean, I never thought I'd say that, but in and of itself, it's exciting. Like, I don't know. I will counter one point though that you said, in the fact that, you know, when it comes to PC games, the competitive side does grow the game. Right? Okay, to a certain extent, but
they're indie games as well. Usually, that's why. But yeah.
The basic point is that the more hardcore a game is, the smaller its audience. That's a general rule of thumb. Okay, you can look at fighting games, you can look at Counter-Strike, you can look at any of the first-person shooters, even on console, that require more skill. Their audiences are smaller than the easiest one, which is COD, and that's why it's so popular. Is because we've been over this a million times, but that fundamental point is sound. I don't necessarily think, apart from, you know, rare exceptions like Dota and League of Legends. Dota was a mod in the first place. Like they're all essentially mods of Warcraft 3, and Counter-Strike is a mod of Half-Life. Now, they didn't help grow Half-Life. Like take CS:GO. They didn't grow Half-Life. Like Half-Life was a game, and then the competitive community made their own mod, and that got popular in relatively small numbers. Now, the developers of Titanfall, they want to make a successful game, right? So this is why I said like the competitive scene is actually tiny compared to the public scene, because the public scene is what the developers are aiming for in order to make their money back and ensure a sequel and you know, keep people employed and making games. So for them, they're like, well, we're going to make a game, and if you guys want to make some competitive variant of it, we might try and accommodate you. We might not. But it's crazy to think now that we're in the position where we listen to the pro players and their opinions, because they're actually a tiny fraction of the community and the least relevant, in my opinion. Like, COD esports, I don't know if viewers know this, but I come across a lot of these fucking GB Randy kids in stream chats and on my comment sections who are like, you hear this comment all the time, that, especially about public players, well, they're shit because they're not playing against good players. Look, I will concede that playing better people makes you better, but you have to understand that you, as a competitive gamer in COD, even in esports, are a tiny percentage, okay? Now, the LoL scene, League of Legends scene, compared to COD, all you have to do is look at the most popular League of Legends stream and look at the most popular COD stream when Nadeshot's on Twitch, and look at the viewers, and that will tell you how big competitive Call of Duty is, or how big competitive first-person shooters are. They're actually tiny in the esports world. No one gives a fuck. Right? No one. It's only us that really gives a fuck. It's only a sub-genre. Nobody gives a fuck about competitive first-person shooters, really. And COD is the only one on the MLG circuit, as far as I know. I think they took Halo off. Gears isn't on there anymore. Like, Battlefield, there was talks of it, but that audience will be even smaller. So the very idea that we'd have, like, you know, like pro COD players saying whether it's, you know, important to have this game as competitive or if it's suitable, I'm just like, this is retarded. Why am I listening to you? You're like less than like, if I was a developer, I'd be like, I couldn't give less of a shit about your opinion. Like, seriously, like, you might be a big deal on Twitter, but you're not going to make or break my game. And that's the bottom line. And these people, they don't like hearing that. They like to think they're relevant and really important because basically Treyarch suck their dicks. Like, Treyarch and Activision suck their dicks and they go, oh, well, we're relevant now, we're important. No, you're not. You're not. You're a tiny part of the community, but you're noisy. Shut the fuck up.
Okay. Well,
They annoy me, sorry. They annoy me to a certain extent. Sorry. You scratch the surface of my secret hatred of these people because I'm just... they're usually cocks. They're usually like, if you're young and precocious and good at something, you're usually a dick. Like, let's be honest. I was a dick when I was younger. Well, you're still a fucking dick. So.
Damn it! That was my punchline. Fuck.
Fuck. Like, they're mostly dicks. And as an adult making video content and having you comment on my videos and stuff, you're just assholes. And the less we listen to assholes, the better.
Except for me. Anyway, right. I mean, you spoke about it. The competitive games being mods. I've always said that. Like, I agree with that completely. It should be considered a mod, but for it to be the most popular, because I think esports doesn't have to be a bad thing. I think you have a very bad experience with it, and a lot of COD players do as well, because Treyarch force-fed things into the casual place, which you should never do. That was a humongous oversight on their part. Bad idea. Should not have done that. But you can still make a good game that works in competitive and has a big, like a relatively big follow. It's like, we're talking about like 50,000 stream viewers. Yeah, that's great. That's a great accomplishment. You're making that Twitch money, though. But they're talking about games that sell like 3 million. Like, it's nothing, right? It's nothing. You're completely correct with that. But at the same time, I would love to see Pro Titanfall, because I think it would be fucking awesome. But I want to see it as the actual game. I don't want to see some sort of shaved down version of you remove everything.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I watch competitive COD. Like, I don't necessarily like the people that play it that much. I think Optic are kind
racist.
They're the biggest competitive team for a reason, because they're somewhat likable. You know, Nadeshot and Scumpy especially, and Embos is a nice person. I don't know him personally, obviously, because I'm fucking nobody and he's a COD pro, but like, he gives me the impression that he's not a complete douchebag. Like, and Clayser to a certain extent I quite like, but a lot of the scene is really fucking toxic and really puts me off. So when I watch the game, I'm excited to see the game that I played at this level. I do enjoy watching it. I just don't like the culture, actually. I really don't. And I really don't like how they're kind of like bowed down to. I really don't like how entitled they've become. Like, within the super community of COD players, I really don't like how much everyone sucks their dick. It really pisses me off. Because I'm just like, you are just feeding their egos and they're going to get worse. This isn't going to get better. They're going to get worse and worse and worse.
I mean, so, yeah. I hear that, but I get just as annoyed at people who do that for any YouTuber, any personality. Don't do that shit to me either. People do that to fucking everybody, no matter how big their channel is. Like, they you know what I mean? It's widespread, but I do feel the need to argue with people that try to posit the most bullshit statements. Like, I was just in a conversation with Fist on Twitter, where he's trying to come out and say, Fist has been off the fucking deep end, hasn't he? Jesus Christ. That guy's train wreck television. It's like every community in media has sort of trash content, like the Jersey Shore or the Transformers movie. And he's got a Transformers t-shirt, by the way. He's a faggot. But I think Fist is turning into that for us, by the way. But Fist is under the impression that literally, he says it, literally any human being with the right amount of coaching and playtime can be a pro COD player. I'm like, come on, dude. It's clearly not true. There's thousands of teams, thousands of pub star teams who they don't make a big noise about it. Some of people who are in the community a little bit more like me or have connections with other YouTubers hear rumblings like in the back doorways of YouTube that you don't see presented to you on a silver platter in YouTube videos. We hear about these people like, oh, they're going to try to team up, and they're practicing, they get shit on and fucking destroyed for months and don't go anywhere, and then you just give up. There's way more of them than there is Fear Crads, right? Fear Crads, he went through the gambit, he did that, but there's 100 times more people who will never fit in the competitive play set. Fist for sure isn't. He's not even as good as I am, much less pros, and I'm not, like, you got to know where your pecking order actually is. And people toss out these names like, oh, the Market J would be great. The Market J might be better at Titanfall than other people, but COD has strategy to it and team, like, very concise, precise, and it's not fun and flashy. It's not. It's very direct in exactly what you need to do at every single time, and that's what separates the pros from the casuals, the pub stars who can get away with reckless play all the time because they're playing bad kids or the teams are monstrously stacked in their favor or whatever the case may be. It's a completely different play set, and you have to respect why that's different, and it's completely. Everybody fucking sucks. Everybody except the 2 people in this fucking call. Everybody else.
Yeah,
sucks.
we rule. I will say this about competitive COD. I played a little bit of it, and the basic pub stomper story goes like this: you can compete gun skill wise, but you can't compete when you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Like if you're playing CTF and you don't know the right spawn rotation, even if you get a couple of picks, you're not going to know what to do with the advantage. You're not going to know any of the meta game.
But here's the thing.
Whatsoever.
Here's the thing, though, Eddie, and I've heard you say this before, and I didn't directly stop you the first time I've heard you say it. The issue isn't really... Gun skill in COD is so low anyway. It's about the predetermined spots on every single movement of something. Players can learn that, but it's winning in those specific engagements. Whereas, like, if you've played a wide array of game modes in COD, you might even know this as well. Like, search players who have played a lot of search, seriously, not the stupid, like, trolley bullshit, hide in corners and jump off cliffs on hijacked or whatever, but the people who actually played it, like, what's a 2v1 situation like? What's the momentum? Where do you need to check in the flow of it, right? So, yeah, you're right. You can learn that stuff, but there's still going to be people who do, like... It creates a sub-meta game of it, right? So we talked a little about Titanfall with the sub-meta games of, well, you know, killing bots is a different skill from killing Titans. The competitive rule set creates those sub-meta games. And, you do first have to learn that, but once you get there, I think you're misjudging where that line actually is in between getting those cutoff kills, in between making those clutch plays inside. Like, that's where the hardcore fans of pros really... like gain a name for themselves for different things because it creates those subset metagames.
Yeah, no, but I was just I mean, you disagreed with me, but I was basically agreeing. Like, someone who has relatively good gun skill and quick reactions can compete with... Right, they're not... All I'm saying is that the pros aren't superhuman. Like, they're still always...
COD's an easy game.
Depending on where they are and what weapon you've got, it's always 3 shots a kill. Doesn't matter if you can hit those 3 shots consistently in most situations, like someone like Pwn Stars can. Like, he's got a better shot than a lot of pros, actually. You know, and one guy who I used to love watching, and now he doesn't make videos anymore, is a guy called Ronaldinho. He's got a far superior shot to a lot of pros on big teams, and I know that because I watch both of them, and I go, this guy is fucking unreal. Like, he is unreal. A lot of pros use pre-fire. Ron just outreacts virtually everyone, every gunfight. Every single gunfight, he out-aims someone. And someone with that level of gun skill, with that level of Twitch skill, would be monstrous.
But the problem is, COD doesn't really require that, though. That's the thing.
No. It doesn't.
But the competitive scene, right.
Yeah, I'm just saying purely his shot. This is what my point was, is that it doesn't come down to purely your shot. As a pub player, it's your shot.
And that's why he can get away with having a better shot than a lot of pros, because that's not
that's
not always the most important thing.
Because the pros don't need it.
Well, some of them do. Some of them do,
that.
But...
Yeah, you know, Scumpy's close to him, but, like, Scumpy said about Ronaldinho that his shot's ridiculous. Like, some of the pros are, like, humble enough to be like, I played a public player and he was fucking good. He didn't know what the fuck he was doing, but, you know, in a 1v1, he'd outgun me. You know, and they're humble enough to say that, but like you say, the competitive rule set isn't really about that. That's the big misconception when people talk about public versus competitive, is that they think it's relatable. It's almost a completely different game, as we've said before.
Right.
But yeah, going back to, you know, circling back round again, my main point was we need to stop listening to these people, and if they want to make if someone wants to make a competitive Titan rule set and get teams together, I would watch the shit out of that because I love that game. You know, and we shouldn't be listening to COD pros who are like, no, we'd need to take the Titans out of the game Titanfall.
Ooh. Yeah. I mean, I think any rule set that is the most close to the regular game while still being competitive is always the best way to go. Like, hands down. And that's what I would like to see them do. Dude, capture the flag. This is what I want to see. I want to see the most outrageous capture the flag routes in Titanfall. There's so much stuff we haven't seen yet. And I don't know if do you have anything else to talk about really with Titanfall?
No, other than, I can't wait for it to be released.
Big old blue balls for that.
Yeah. Like, it really is, if you're an old COD fan, you'll love it. If you didn't get to play the beta because you're on 360 or you don't have a PC, or if you're a PlayStation guy, and I got quite a lot of PlayStation fanboy comments coming back at me, and they weren't all like rude or anything, but one was a personal friend on my Facebook wall, right? So I posted out that I got a beta key, and I got a beta key early, and he wrote on my Facebook wall, he was like, "Oh, there's already quick scoping and trick shotting and campers in it." And I was like, "How the fuck do you know this? I got this beta key early. Like, no one has played this. Nobody has played this. Like, YouTubers haven't got it. I got it through like YouTube, and I got it early, so I got to play it before even the closed beta. So it was like the closed beta, and I was like, it's fucking amazing. Like, you haven't played it. Don't have the attitude, even if you're a Sony guy. I was like, I wish it was cross-platform. I'm not an Xbox fanboy. I'm an adult. I will say to you, I wish you could play this game. Like, I'm not like, yeah, Xbox exclusive, go team Xbox. Like, I'm not like that. I don't give a shit. And he was just basically fanboying on me, and I was like, think with your brain.
Oh, it's just COD with mechs.
Yeah, it's just COD with mechs. Have you played it? No, but stop talking. At the moment where I ask you the question, have you played it, and you say no, but just shut the fuck up.
I think it's just better COD. Like, we might as well just say that. Like, it's unfair, really, to me to start saying that shooters are just COD or that's just COD. COD is the most simplistic shooter you can get. So everything's going to kind of be like COD. Like, what? Do you not want that intuitive movement system? Do you not want it to feel that smooth? Everybody wants that. It's not bad that it feels that way. I want to feel like
I'm driving a fucking tank. With levers and shit to move my character. Right, left, forward, side, strafe. No one likes that shit.
Yeah. So I think it's like COD better. Like everything we would ever want for in COD is basically better in Titanfall. So that's the way I feel about it. So I don't know. Whatever. I don't give a shit what labels you put on it. It's fun. It's a fun game.
Yeah, it is.
I will say I did kind of get bored of it though, because I think as a gamer, I'm just kind of tired of playing games. I think I'm getting old or something. But
yeah. That's a good subject, actually, because we were talking. We've talked about this before privately, but like, I think I'm really like. I had a conversation with you about YouTube, Twitter, like hate that you get. Like, the more popular you get, the more idiots you get, like just talking shit at you. And I was just like, over the last week, I was just really sick. Like, it didn't personally affect me. Like, if you hate on me, trust me. I'm an arrogant person, but if you're a 14-year-old kid hating at me for some bullshit reason that you can't even spell properly, I'm smarter than you. It's not going to get to me. Trust me. Your hate will not penetrate my ridiculous ego buffer, okay? It's not going to get through to me. Trust me. But it will make me just sick of the gaming community. It will make me be like, why the fuck am I wasting my time doing this? Why am I spending my time with these fucking idiots? I mean, I know you feel that sometimes.
That's just about exactly what I say. Like, you almost took the words right out of my mouth. Like, you think you could break this? Well, first of all, even if you criticize me, I criticize myself way more than you could ever hurt me. And besides that, my ego is so big that there's no way you could penetrate it. But usually I'm nice to people. I give them one chance, because I recognize your fucking username. All right, I don't have that many goddamn subs, so I recognize who the fuck you are. Put pictures on your usernames, by the way, guys. Especially those of you who leave positive stuff, because sometimes I get you guys mixed up. But if you leave some dumb shit, I'll respond to you. Maybe call you out for being stupid, and then if I see, oh, this is a troll, okay, ignore, gone. Just like,
yeah, no,
well, that happened. Like, over. I don't care.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. Like, I'll give them one reply as a courtesy. Like, if they obviously miss the point of the video, like if they're they're just like hitting their keyboard in pure anger and fear, like in response to what I've said, then I'll give them one reply. I was like, look, you clearly didn't listen. When I said this is what I meant, etc., etc. And, I might even throw in a little joke about myself. I might take the piss out of myself just to sweeten the fucking pill, And if I then get another one back being like, you're a fucking whatever, then I'll just be like, block. like,
I stopped blocking people. I used to block people, but I don't really anymore.
I like it. I like putting them in their place in the fact that they don't have the power. I like saying, no, you've overstepped the mark. Now you don't have a voice. This isn't a democracy. This is a benevolent dictatorship. And I am the fucking dictator. And if you irk me, off to the fucking wheatfield gulags for you.
I make the videos. You just watch them. You just watch. Woo! Woo! Check my bank account.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. A little bit.
That is excellent stuff right there. I mean, it's to the point. My YouTube popularity is just so high now. People try to get me in fights with other YouTubers. They create fake accounts and tweet. This is a funny little story. So like, I think this guy was trying to fuck around. So whoever's doing it, making like 10 different Twitters of me, you're just wasting your time. But tweeted some shit at Straight Up Knives and said, you just troll little children, like something blah, blah, blah. And he tweeted back to the fake account and said, or no. The guy was like, you just bully little children. Like, that's not funny. Nobody wants to see that. And he replied, you just bully grown men or something like that. Like, I can't remember exactly what it was, but and it made me laugh so hard. It's like, first of all, Straight Up Knives actually knows who I am for knowing that I bully grown men. I'm like, oh wow, YouTube famous, great, thanks a lot. Like the little fucking fake Twitter account, you did nothing but just appease me for revealing the fact that Straight Up Knives knows that I'm a jackass. It's great, it's wonderful. But I really wish I could improve my stance in the social media stratosphere so that people understand that I don't just talk shit, okay? I don't say things as dumb as this fake Twitter account says. I say them with beautiful flaming bags of shit. It's not like, it's not just, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a higher level, elevated, snobby, condescending. Like, if it's not smart enough, I'm not going to say it. I don't say like, faggot, like, unless I'm talking to Eddie because he is one. But that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I need to upgrade my shit talking reputation because it's going downhill fast.
Yeah, I think that people need to understand about you, Frito, that you're not just a garden variety asshole. You're on a whole nother level. On a whole nother level of asshole. And if it isn't the most cutting, insightful, douchebag, aggressive comment that cuts you down, it's not Frito.
It's all in the exercise of it. I love that the beautiful moment when two people are disagreeing and one saying things that is funnier than the other one. That's the most beautiful thing in the world. And 9 times out of 10, I'm that funny motherfucker grinding you into the ground and laughing. And you're like, oh, you respond thinking I'm mad. I'm having the best time of my life. Believe me.
Yeah.
I'm the troll. You're feeding me.
Yeah, it's like that moment with Rorschach in the fucking prison where he's like, you guys don't understand. I'm not in here with you. You're in here with me. That's Frito. Frito is YouTube's Rorschach. Unable to compromise.
Well, as much as I would love to talk about me for the whole show, what topic you want to move on to now, Eddie?
Well, seeing as we were talking about our lack of faith in humanity and the evidence of our impending doom through the YouTube comment section, I think a good idea to talk about is like a lot of people I notice like when they get into YouTube they think that doing YouTube is a thing, right? That's an end goal for a lot of people, especially a lot of people who are starting. And like I couldn't live with myself if YouTube was the end goal. Like I couldn't have self-confidence and self-esteem if all I did and all my ambition was to make, essentially attempting to be funny, self-referential editorial on first-person shooters. Like, I mean, that is like, where's the fucking bath? Where's the fucking razor blade? Like, I couldn't do that. So, why don't we talk a little bit about what's after YouTube for both of us? Because I've been thinking about that recently. It doesn't mean I'm going to quit. I'm not going to stop, because I enjoy doing it. But like, what's the end goal? What are we practicing? And I think you should go first.
Great, on the spot.
Great, yeah, thanks for that.
Well, for those of you that don't know, I'm a 24-year-old man with 2 college degrees. Eddie has degrees as well, but I have degrees in broadcast electronic communication and writing intensive English. So basically that means I create stuff for people to buy, otherwise I'm poor. So I'm in that poor state. And the funny thing is, I kind of assumed when I was going into school, like a bunch of other stupid college students, that I kind of had a easier route than I actually did. Like, yeah. I have job skills that fit into the real job market. Like, there's a lot of things. One problem with me is that I have far too many ambitions and interests and potential routes where it's not like a simple path. And especially in entertainment, there's no simple path anymore. But like, there's a million jobs in radio. There's a million jobs in ads and marketing and branding and blah, blah, blah. Like, all this other stuff. And where I live now doesn't really have a market for that. Now, I think it's good to talk about what YouTube is for me. And then, God, we're back to talking about me. Isn't this a great show? Everything about
it's
Frito.
Great.
It's a Frito documentary today. What the purpose of YouTube is for me and where to move on from there. When I started YouTube, I literally said, well, I'll do the, like I said in videos when I had 200 subs, I'll just make these, whatever. I'll have a job in a few years. That job didn't come. So now my ultimate goal is self-employment. But what you got to really understand, folks, ladies and gentlemen at home, I hate to break this to you. Even though I am against ad block and YouTube screwing us out of mobile views and all this other thing, even with all of that money, there's still a very select few that get enough ad views to be able to monetize their stuff full time and live off of YouTube. Right now, in the state of YouTube as it is, you probably need about 150,000 subscribers if you just wanted to live off ad views, and that's minimum wage. Like, do you understand that? As these wonderful YouTubers that you idolize and think they're amazing, they get, 30,000 views a video, probably 150,000 subs. They're making minimum wage on that. Like, it's nothing.
Yeah, it's not great.
What's a lot of people do, they sell scuffs, they have product codes, deals, things like that you bring it in. But the thing with me is that I'm creating things that are more in tune with what I went to school for. So I can write stories. Would just love to try, actually, seriously, comedy. And I'm writing a ton of that, filtering that in my channel. People always say, like, oh, why don't you start that Comedy Terry series again? Guys, I've been scripting a lot of joke videos for quite a few months just because I didn't put Comedy Terry on it. Please, like, cut me a little slack. Some of the videos I posted have been funny, okay? Right? I know I'm not that goddamn funny. I'm not fucking Sneeko. I understand. I'm not Sneeko or Eddie. But I think I'm kind of funny at certain times, and I have the scathing wit to. That's
I
the
think
approach.
You're funny.
I think, to be honest, completely honest, I would love to be a new version of George Carlin, but I would settle for Dennis Leary. For those of you who don't know the difference between that, George Carlin he's dead. He died actually the year I graduated high school, which is like a shocking thing. When I was 18, I idolized this guy. And he just dies. I'm like, well, guess I'm not meeting him. Like, that's what I'm like. Well, that's
that dream gone.
Yeah, I might as well just die too. Like, that was pretty. But Carlin is an entertainer as well as an excellent writer. Like, as he got older, he admitted that. I idolized his last half of his career way more than his first half, where he was more of an entertainer. Whereas Dennis Leary isn't as much of an entertainer by far. He's more of an intellectual, scathing wit kind of guy, and I think I could reproduce that if possible. And the beautiful thing with the internet is that I'm building this social media base, is that, and I hate to break this to you guys, but I will start to sell you things. That's what I need to do in order to do this full time and accomplish this dream. I don't want to do my shitty part-time job forever. It makes 100 times more than I make now on YouTube, but eventually I'm going to create stuff for my fans to buy. And honestly, I would love to give almost everything away for free. Really, I would love to just create stuff, maybe have a Patreon or something, and that's like multiple steps on the line. I don't feel that I'm consistent enough in what I create to start that. But, you know, I respect people like Louis C.K. who sell specials for $5, or Radiohead who gives their albums away for whatever you want to pay. That's kind of what I would love to do. I would love to make minimum wage just doing this. That's fine with me. If it goes higher than that, great. But
creative people, you guys need to know that creative people, they're not really money obsessed generally.
Not the good ones.
Yeah, we're not gold diggers really. Like a lot of the most successful ones at the top of the pyramid who have got to the position, like Louis C.K., who can he can set the terms because he's got to that point in the industry where he doesn't have to fucking do what the industry tells him. He can do exactly what he wants when he wants, and he can make it work for him because he has a big enough network and a big enough fan base. Like Kevin Smith's a great example as well. He can set the terms of his commerce, of his product. Like us guys, we can't do that because we're not in that position yet. So just quickly, I want to ask you, I want to make a little bit of a mini topic about this, about advertising. So it hasn't got to the point with my channel size where I would have been offered sponsorships or anything like that. But I would only ever like accept sponsorships from people that the products that I use. So, okay, let's just go through the things that I use. I very obviously use Astro headsets. If Astro came to me and said, we want to sponsor you, would you talk about us for like 7 seconds before every video? Of course I would, because I use Astro headsets. I've been using them for years. I think they're the best headset. That to me is not on like moral shaky ground, because you can clearly see that I use it and have used it. Or if Apple computers came to me and were like, "Do you want to talk about Macs for production?" I'd be like, "Of course. I've used them for years, etc., etc., etc." The only sort of like dodgy area gets to be where you're like advertising for products or you accept sponsorships for shit you don't use, like, and that does happen. People get sponsorships from controller manufacturers and they don't use their controllers. Like, I hate to break it to you, but not everyone with a Scuff sponsorship uses Scuffs. Not everyone with a Razer sponsorship uses Razer mice. You know, it's like, it's that kind of thing. And I personally wouldn't do that, but then again, I'm not motivated by money quite a lot, really. So what do you think? What's your ethical boundary?
Well,
whoever pays the most.
I think it really depends. I mean, I think it's interesting that, and I see why, but we create a different set of standards for entertainers on YouTube than we do, let's say, a ball player. Like, do they use that toothpaste? Did Kim Kardashian really lose weight on this? Like, and I guess that's my evil capitalist mind coming through and saying, like, they're just brushing it under the rug. I wouldn't judge someone based on the bullshit spot. I should totally put this guy on blast, but I'm not going to. He's irrelevant. But this guy I used to be friends with, tossed me under the bus for another irrelated thing. But he had these dumb sponsorship deals. The funniest thing is that the smallest channels get the dumbest products. They get the worst, most unintuitive, crappy products. I think it's called Avenger, which it's like, it's so funny. It's this like fucking spider monstrosity plastic piece set that you put on a normal controller. So you have, like, let's say here's the normal controller. You put this spider monstrosity on top of it, and then it like loops around at all the buttons, so then you can kind of make a scuff out of your regular controller, and it's a lot cheaper, obviously, because it's just this fucking stupid plastic thing sitting on top. But it's the most unintuitive, dumb product. It's just stupid. And for a fact, this guy didn't use it, but he peddled them because, like, I'm sorry to say, and this even goes with, like, I do guerrilla ads through full screen, which obviously is a lot fairer because it's like a shout out. It's the same thing as an ad for Domino's. In fact, it's better and it pays more. Like, those types of ads and deals are going to always pay more than the YouTube ads, no matter if you make whatever your split is, whatever pre-roll ad goes on, because it's more direct. So people who do it full time, I have trouble mocking that but I always think everything's up for criticism, no matter what. I personally don't really care. I mean, if someone approached me with a product that they wanted me to pitch and I didn't like it, I wouldn't do that personally. But other people might not have might not feel that they have that strength to do it. Like they need that money or whatever. And there's another thing I want to go down talking about, like types of content as well. Do you have anything to say about products before I change here a little bit?
No, I was just going to say, like, I take my kind of cue from, I'm very influenced by people like Bill Hicks, and he famously said, if you're Jay Leno and you take a Doritos advert, then you're off the artistic roll call forever. He was like, if you become part of the machine in that way, that kind of it marks you out to a certain extent. And although I'm not as extreme as that, like I would promote stuff that I use, like that I used, and if they approach me, I'd be like, yeah, I use your product. Like that's my rule. If I use it, I would promote it. But if I don't, I'm not gonna. Like that's the basic rule. Because in that way, you've got some integrity at least.
I mean, I think it's fair play. It's not a whole lot different than promoting the games you play. Like it's almost the same thing, really. I mean, that would spawn into another conversation. Oh, you're making videos on the game. You're making money off of their creation, even though the video itself is a unit out of that context. It's not like somebody watches a video instead of playing. It's not like they're both the same thing.
Yeah.
You're not recreating a new movie from a movie. It's it's a new kind of media. But regardless, whatever. People are going to complain about that. They're never going to agree with me on that point. But this is something that kind of came up on Twitter. A lot of this actually is from Twitter. But someone, I believe, made a comment about T. Martin. And I know you kind of defend Allier as well, so it's interesting to say.
To a certain extent, yeah.
But people make fun of T. Martin for what he does, the type of content he creates, but I do as well. I think it's always fine to make jokes about anything, really. But at the end of the day, if you're personally offended and you feel he should stop, like if you're on that side of it, I think you've gone too far, because there's a difference between creating content people want and creating art. And it's okay if you don't want to make art and you just want to make crap content that you know is just shovelware for the mindless masses. I can't really knock it because people want it and you're supplying it. Like I really cannot see a reason why that's morally wrong. You can knock it. It's the same thing. Kesha, if you guys don't know this, Kesha famously said, or maybe infamously if you don't know, but she admitted to making crappy pop music just to make money. And I'm like, I respect her a lot more now because she knows it's fucking trash. At least she knows what she's creating as an art. It's just shovelware. And it's an industry. People need to get paid in this industry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, I couldn't do it personally. Like, I have lived in affluence. I have had good jobs, I have been paid well, and I have been hungry and poor. And being poor is not what I want for myself, but I want to be able to look myself in the mirror without wanting to kill myself. So I couldn't be Keisha or whatever the fuck her name is. Like, I couldn't do something which I know was just shit. I couldn't do it. It's not in my makeup. Like, I just couldn't do it. So I defend T. Martin and Allier from the simple perspective of, you often hear, this goes into the whole money whore subject, which is one of my favorite YouTube bullshit comments that just, if you say that word and you call people that, you need to understand that you're a child and have never been in any sort of functional real world scenario where you've had to provide for yourself. Because if you say that, that only comes from people who don't earn their own living. The term money whore only comes in the YouTube context from people who are kids still living with their parents. Like, it doesn't come from people who've earned their own living. I do not begrudge T. Martin for making videos that I personally wouldn't choose to make, but he does because he's a big success and he knows there's revenue there. I'm not going to have a go at that person or call them a money whore. I am not someone who hates on other people's success. Firstly, even though I'm an atheist, I will bring in like such an esoteric concept. I think it's bad karma to do that. I think you are encouraging the universe to take a massive shit on you if you if you throw shit at people for being successful. That is a bad habit. Do not get into it. Celebrate others' successes and work towards your own, is my point of view. But like Ali A, you know, it's quite famous how he got big on YouTube, and a lot of people are annoyed with that. Actually, what they're really annoyed of is that it's not them. Right? I'm sure a lot of it is jealousy. I'm sure a lot of why people say this about those kinds of people is jealousy. Because who wouldn't want to make really easy content and make millions a year? I mean, you'd got to be fucking retarded, like, to not be like, oh, I've got a really easy job and it earns me loads of money. That's the dream, people. Low effort, high reward. That's the slacker's dream. Like, and if you're into video games and you're like, I wouldn't want that, bullshit.
Fair enough. I mean, and here's the difference between what my mentality here, because people might say like I'm contradicting, but I'm really not. I think you can criticize the art, but you can't, like, you have to see it from inside the market and what it does. But what I do complain about is the fact that the search engine optimization of YouTube and the way the game is rigged to like snowball videos and related tags and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
That way, if Ali A was in this call, I'd say, dude, I think that's fucking lame as shit. But he's the guy who did it. If he didn't do it, someone else would. So really, it's more YouTube's fault than it is his. So that's why I think it's unfair, really, to put it all on his shoulders that, oh, how dare you exploit this broken system for monetary gain? Well, of course he did. Someone was going to. Like,
yeah. And you're annoyed that it was him. Not you, personally, but the people who criticize him. I will say this. Like, I'm such a douchebag that I'm fairly convinced that if you showed Ali A's massive audience a video of mine, that the majority of them would like it. But the sad truth about YouTube is that my stuff is never going to reach that many people because of the way YouTube works. It's just not. Okay, the way YouTube works now is it makes the bigger channels bigger. It is the absolute best example of what happens when, you know, free marketeers get a hold of the workings of a system. So YouTube is in charge of how it runs its own business, and it's in their commercial interest to make the bigger channels bigger. It's in their interest because they can sell more advertising space at a higher rate. Like, it's not evil, it's in their interest as a business. But it does mean it makes it harder for other people to become those possible successes. That's the only part of it that really bothers me, because like I said, I'm fairly confident that if you showed my video to Ali A's fans or to a 1 million+ channel, like my video was just uploaded, I'd get loads of subs. Like, I'm fairly certain of that, and I'm fairly certain that Fredo would too.
Depending on the video.
Yeah, apart from the videos where he calls them all a bunch of cunts. Yeah, like, like if he just did, I don't know.
Yeah,
I was going to say an unoffensive Fredo video, and then I realised that those kind of things don't really exist, so...
I'm sorry. But see, and that's the thing. Like, people say, oh, Fredo's not a money whore because I act... No, I am a money whore. Believe me, I am a money whore. But I want to do things my way, right? I'm still an artist at it. I'm not going to stray away from who I am in order to create something different that doesn't represent what I want to get out there. And I'm totally fine with very offensive, abrasive, cutting, condescending. Like, I love all of these things. I love seeing it in videos. And that's why I wanted to create it. And that's what again, the Frito Show. Baby, hit subscribe, baby. You know you like it. Subscribe for more tips and tricks.
Dude, this is on your channel. Like, they've already subbed to you.
Well, they should sub again.
Yeah, they should unsub and then resub. Create more accounts and sub again.
Oh, yeah. And let all my videos play in a playlist and don't even skip the ads. Just mute it, and yeah, that's a great idea. You should all do that all day long. It'd be great. Do we want to talk any more about money whores and bullshit?
No, I think I'm spent about that. What I'm really excited about this week is I have been waiting to talk shit about a particular movie with you for such a long time. We've saved it and saved it and saved it, and I just want the world to know what I think about this movie. So I think we should move into the shit-talking movie section.
Okay, so little context here. Like I mentioned before, I have a broadcast degree. Eddie has a film degree. I'm more trained in the episodic, the TV stuff, like Your Walking Dead's. From news, the bullshit like this weekend. But I'm from that to The Walking Dead. That's what I'm trained in. Eddie has a film degree, which is more artsy fartsy and kind of more technical, I'd probably say in a lot of ways. But
more socialist, definitely.
Definitely more socialist. Pretty much everything Eddie does is more socialist. But anyway, in my opinion, we're fairly qualified to make the type of claims we do about art. Because here's the thing. People always attack art in a very fanboyish way. The internet has propagated this. The video game culture has propagated this. It's all about like protecting what makes you feel fuzzy inside. And you're somehow attached to these characters or games or movies or whatever. When I saw The Man of Steel, I almost cried at how terrible of a movie it was. Now, listen, I understand that it may be the best Superman movie in the canon, but it is a terrible movie. That's the setup. Eddie, go.
Yeah. Okay, so just a little preface. We were having a conversation off camera about, I think it was about Zack Snyder, because I had just recently watched Man of Steel, and we were just shooting the shit before the show or something. And I said, I saw Man of Steel. What a piece of shit that was. And he was like, oh, dude, we've got to save that because we're going to do a whole section where we destroy it. And my problem with it is that it's kind of, I feel like Zack Snyder, the director, he directed 300, he directed Watchmen, he directed a truly awful film. What's the awful film? Is it called Donkey Punch? Or it's the one with the girls in the asylum with all the ninjas and shit.
I don't know.
It's just terrible. You will know it's got hot chicks and samurais, and that's it. And they're delusional, and they go into like they're delusional. They're in a nut house, and then they have these dreams where they're just like cool chicks with swords and shit. Anyway, Sucker Punch. That's the name of the movie, and he made Man of Steel, and it was produced by the director of Batman. So it was produced by Christopher Nolan. So everyone had high hopes for this film. Well, let's just get to the fact that Zack Snyder is a horrible, horrible filmmaker. Horrible. He's the new Jerry Bruckheimer, and I mean that in the most offensive, insulting way possible. And he makes his films suffer from a profound superficiality that almost angers me to my very core. There is almost no substance to these movies. Everything that is supposed to be substance in his movies is just a hint at what he thinks is substantial. There is nothing in these movies that is it's barely human. It's like all his movies look really pretty, the production design is really good, and it's like, you directed adverts. I can tell you directed adverts. I can tell you worked in advertising because you know what sells, what looks right. But you don't have the first fucking clue about human drama. And in that way, you're like Jerry Bruckheimer because he doesn't have a fucking idea either because he thinks Transformers is a good human drama. Whatever. Like, everyone's seen that film. But let's get on to... So my problem with Man of Steel came from it was directed by Zack Snyder. And then we got to talking about just how terrible it is. So, from my point of view, the biggest fault about it, and I'll open this up to the floor to you, Frito, in a moment. The biggest problem with it is watch it again if you've seen it, or watch it and bear this in mind. Bear in mind that General Zod has a machine that can turn any planet or any intergalactic body of mass, so a moon completely dead, no life whatsoever, into a habitable planet for Kryptonians. This is the most magical machine in the universe, this magical terraforming machine, and yet he decides to use it on a fully populated planet for no reason other than to serve the narrative to have Superman to have someone to fight. There is no reason for the main character, the main villain, to be antagonistic. None. None whatsoever. There is no drama in that movie. And once you notice that, you go, this is the most bullshit plot I've ever noticed. Like, and it was so glaring to me, I couldn't handle it. Over to you before I actually throw my cup against the wall, even thinking about that fucking movie.
Okay, so I've covered this already months ago when I first saw the film, so I'm sorry if some of this is a repeat, but I want to use this exercise to kind of teach you guys, the viewers, you beautiful people out there, how to think about films, okay? And art in general, really, because you can apply this to just about everything. My criticism skills kind of have ranged when I went to school, but what Eddie is searching for is motivation, okay? Things that drive human beings, reasons for things to exist. Now, I really hate getting to the nitpicky details about things. Like, for instance, people go into specific plot points of the movie and say, wow, Superman killed somebody. That's significant. It doesn't matter to me, really, what the specific plot points are. So it's less to me the point that Zod has this machine built in this universe that can do this. It's not so much that that's a stupid idea that he could do it anywhere, but that is stupid. But it's a worse sin because they don't build the tension, the humanity of it. They don't build the plot. There's no character progression. Everything is flat, and every character is static, and it's all stupid. It's just...
But that's why. But the reason why, my point is, the reason why it's not... Right, so let's look at earlier in the film, okay? So we're given some context as to who Zod is. And in the first act of the movie, we're shown him in his comparison to Superman's father. Now, he's actually shown with some sort of degree of relatability. So he is trying to do the best for Krypton in the same way that Jor-El's father, Superman's father, is, but in a totally different way, in a militaristic way that corrupts him and makes him evil, blah, 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 blah. But he seemed to be somewhat redeemable. He's trying to save his people, but he has a totally fucked up way of doing it. Okay, that bit worked for me. But then that whole interesting arc of Zod as a character, having the motivation to do what he does, falls down when he doesn't have any. He doesn't have any other reason to murder millions of people, thus making him the primary antagonist and go Superman, go stop him, right? Save all the humans. He doesn't have any motivation to truly do what he then just does. It's out of character because he's not a character, because this is a Zack Snyder movie. He's a suggestion of a character. So that earlier scene, the one that I liked where he was like shown to be relatable, that bit was good writing. But it was only good writing if that sort of seed carries on throughout the narrative and the character behaves in character. So he has, like, he is fleshed out and he does have motivation, but he doesn't. His actions, like, the best example in TV in recent memory is there's an episode of Lost, spoilers, where John Locke kills someone. He throws a knife in their back. And everyone on the internet was really pissed off for good reason, because it was out of John Locke's character. It was lazy writing. It was only done to serve the narrative moving forward. It wasn't done with any regard to intelligence or how that character would behave. And that's my problem with The Man of Steel, because it is a collection of fuck-ups like that. It's like, you don't understand drama. What you want is fights, people smashing through buildings. You want the eye candy because you're an ad man, right? You're a director who wants the money shot, but you don't care how you get there or whether the money shot is worth it in the end. So for me, the whole film is ruined by Zod because he's not written well enough, and I'm like, this movie just doesn't work. This movie doesn't work because the main bad guy, who like in reflection to the hero, his oppositional force to the hero, gives our hero character, it doesn't work because the bad guy doesn't have any reason for doing what he wants to do. He's just a bad guy, so deal with it. I'm sorry, but my tastes are a little bit more developed than that, and you can't prick tease me at the beginning by going, oh, this character might have a little bit of depth and a little bit of motivation, he might be relatable in some way, and then go, nah, big explosion.
I'll give you this, though. the fight scenes are the only thing that interested me in the movie. They did a great job on the fight scenes for what they were. That's what I like. I like a movie that knows what it is and goes to accomplish it, right? Even if it's cheesy, hacky, and stupid. I can take a cheesy, hacky, and stupid movie if that's what it sells me from the get-go and it knows itself, right?
Yeah.
If Superman Man of Steel was just a big action like flick, that'd be fine. But the problem is that they try their best to create character and create a story arc and plot line, but it doesn't do it in any sort of way. Now, I think we can attack this on different angles other than Zod. First of all, though I do agree with you what you said about the dynamics of Zod's character at the beginning, I really didn't like the first scene either because it was highly expository. Like, the most expository 30 minutes of a film I think I've probably ever seen. And I understand it's because they're in a confinement of, like, shit's exploding around them and they're in a console or something. But you could just as easily show that through a development of other action rather than them just list off the history of Krypton, blah, blah. It's like I'm reading a comic book and having a comic book read to me. That's what it felt like. Or like a graphic novel. 7 years ago, Krypton. I don't care! I just don't, like, could you develop, like, these characters? No! God damn it! So I hated the first scene. I'm not sure if you have anywhere to jump in here, but I'll just keep going. The other characters, none of the characters were good for me at all. Zod is probably your worst. I hated all of them. Let's go down some of the side characters before I get to the big enchilada. Lawrence Fishburne, who is from The Matrix, like the red pill, the green pill. The first scene he's in with the spunky chick, who I think is the closest to showing promise in the movie. The chick probably has the closest to showing kind of like a dual edge where she's like not just static at one thing. The conversation, and this is why I hate the dialogue. The dialogue repeats this stupid trope multiple times where the characters somehow seem like they know the movie they're in. And they're commenting on the gravity of the situation from an outside perspective without reacting like humans react to things. I have two examples that are fresh in my mind. I never forgot them from the months I spent watching that terrible piece of shit movie. Lawrence Fishburne's having a conversation with the reporter chick who supposedly have seen Superman, whatever, saved her, and she wants to write a big op-ed on him. Lawrence Fishburne looks at her in all of seriousness and says, "The world is not ready for that." What the fuck? What do you mean the world's not ready? How do you know? You don't even know if she's lying. You're not even really questioning her. He accepts that she's telling the truth more than analyzing the situation. There was no humanity. Yeah. And then later on the film, a fucking building falls on him and he's dead. Great. Oh, well, that's character development for you. No, that's fucking terrible. I do not care about him or his stupid... He doesn't have any motivation, doesn't have any character. He's just fucking flat. Second thing. There's the general in there as well that is like the American general, which I would just love to see some conflict between Superman and the military, which they try to do, but there's no actual substance there. An example of terrible writing as well, Zod comes in, turns off all the TVs. He's on the TV like the old Superman movie. I don't care. I didn't see it. And that's part of the reason why I think I don't love this movie as much as some people, because I didn't see the old Superman movies to have contrast to how shitty those were and how a little bit more shitty or a little less shitty this one is. This one's all of a sudden better. No, Zod comes in on the TV and says, "Earth, people of Earth, I will take over the planet." And no, it was even before that. Right before that part. There's something circling Earth that the satellites pick up. And I can't remember the exact line anymore, but the general says something to the effect of, "I think he's trying to blah, blah, blah." Like he says this like narrative setting of understanding what's going on, but he has no information to make this sort of judgment. I wish I remembered exactly what the line was. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Yeah,
it's a really bad example of characters
not having character. They're just voices of the writer.
It's that the plot is an inhabitant of the character, not the other way around. So normally characters are part of this larger world, and they're only aware. A good writer will only make them aware of what is in their immediate vicinity. Okay. Now, as the audience, we have a privileged position. That's the power of film, is that we see everyone's perspective and therefore have a better grasp of what's going on than, per se, an individual character. But bad writing says that each character or lazy or short-sighted writing has the character speak in shorthand for the audience, right? And that's a big criticism of someone like Tarantino as well. Is that's a criticism of him is that all the characters in his movies are him having a conversation with himself, because no one really talks like that. Like that's, do you know what I mean? Like, because he sets his own worlds up and he has these crazy things happen. It's like every character is just him. He's just like, I'm going to get my animated human dolls say this to each other. I think this will be funny. Right? That's a criticism of him. Well, in that piece of shit Superman movie, the characters just say what you need to hear to follow the story. Like, that's what Frido's saying. It's like they don't react like people. They're not characters. They're just...
It's like sock puppets, dude. It's like straight up like sock puppets.
It really is. It's terrible.
Oh, this bad thing's happening.
Yeah, and a great, Transformers, like a Michael Bay movie. Like, that's what that's like. Like, Transformers is literally, that is all it is. The characters say exactly what you need to hear every time. Like, that's it. And... actually, I said Jerry Bruckheimer when I said Zack Snyder is the new Jerry Bruckheimer. What I really meant was that he's the new Michael Bay. Like, that's what I meant. Jerry Bruckheimer is the producer of Transformers. So I always get those two confused because Jerry Bruckheimer made Men in Black as well, and he's another terrible fucking filmmaker. But, like, I always get Michael Bay and Bruckheimer confused. But what I really meant is Zack Snyder is the new Michael Bay. So that is the worst criticism I could pay any filmmaker ever.
At least Men in Black 1's better than Man of Steel. I mean, easily. But
yeah, but you wouldn't like it if it didn't have Will Smith in it. You wouldn't like it if it wasn't for the performance.
Fair enough, but it does. I don't want to.
Or Tommy Lee Jones.
We can go on. We can go on a whole nother thing. Men in Black 1 was a decent family-pleasing movie. That's more of a better example of what I mean of a movie knowing what it is and not trying to reach above.
And it didn't sell itself as this sort of like piece of monumental human drama.
Yeah, it's not this high art introspective look into the psyche of Superman. That's everything the tone said. So there's two more things that I definitely want to go down before I forget. The tone, and then the thing with his father and Superman's development in his past. Everything about the tone spoke of this movie takes itself very seriously. All the shading, the lighting, the color of Superman's suit, there is no happiness in this movie whatsoever. It's all incredibly serious. It's not like Men in Black where it's like, oh, a couple little punchlines here, blah, 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 boom, boom, bang, bang. We kind of care about them, but we don't. It's not this family, like, Disney-ification of a movie. It's not like that. So, and then, do you have anything to say on that?
Well, no, it's tried to do like what Bond did with Daniel Craig, just like reboot the style. Like, Bond films used to be this camp romp of like kill 1 million people and say a witty line. They used to be ridiculous and stupid and special gadgets and hilarious bad guys and all that kind of stuff. They used to be camp, and now they're serious, right? And the old Superman movies were camp, and now they're serious. Just like Batman used to be camp and is now serious. Like, that's what they tried to do. They tried to make The Dark Knight for Superman, and they totally failed because the writers didn't do what they did. They didn't have the skill or the subtlety or the genius of understanding what makes characters do what they do as Nolan and his writing team did. I think he wrote it with his brother. I think they wrote those 3 movies together. Because I know Christopher Nolan works with his brother. They didn't have that level of writing skill. So it was marketed. This is why I say Zack Snyder is a marketing man. It was marketed like it was that, but it wasn't. It was cheap. And not visually, not in terms of it was actually cheap, because it fucking wasn't. It was really expensive. But it was cheap in terms of the drama. And I think that's why that was... I don't like Superman as much as I like Batman. I think Batman's a more interesting character. He has better bad guys, for example. Like, he has the Joker. He has what they did with Bane in The Dark Knight Rises. Actually better than the comic book. But anyway, like, that, there's more material. There's more human stuff there in Batman than there is in Superman. Superman's basically unbeatable. So, I mean, he's about as interesting as a cardboard box. like, as a character.
Well,
Like, you can't be
he's
beat
more of
by
the
anything.
he's like the God question, like the God answer. That's basically what it is. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, us as being creative people in this field, I don't think a lot of people who think of it that way. Because I'm right with you. I think Batman is an easier character to work with because you have all of that depth of humanity, whereas Superman is this, like, you have to like make excuses for him to be more human, like special
Yeah.
rocks or immunities or some super big badass army that it's like it's got to be some like 10th level type thing to
Yeah, it's
to go
because
over him.
it's because his character is rooted in an era of thinking that doesn't exist anymore, right? So Superman as a character is not postmodern. Okay, he's a modernist idea. He is a symbol. Okay, so he lives in a world of black and white. So he is a character representing good virtues. He was a useful piece of propaganda. That's what he was. He was a symbol of America and the American dream and the American moral superiority complex. Like, that's what he was. The American way is the best. Blah 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 blah. Stars and stripes. Bullshit. 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 Right. Whatever. But we don't live in that age where we accept those. We can't digest ideas like that as easily anymore because we're in the postmodern era. We're actually postmodern, but who cares? Like, to most people, we're postmodern, so we can't accept grand ideas like that so simply. Like,
We
a
question them.
yeah, we would question him. A postmodern take on Superman would be that he goes completely off the rails and becomes a complete bastard and regains his humanity. That would be a postmodern take on Superman. Like, he was this symbol, then he, like, as you would do if you were as powerful as a god, it would completely go to your head, right? If you were a human being, it would completely go to your head. You would become a total fascist and a dictator. And they did this in the Injustice fighting game. The story of that game, spoiler, is that they get transported to another universe, a parallel universe, where Superman goes bad because the Joker kills Lois Lane, and he goes off the rails and becomes a dictator. And the whole point of the thing is beating this unbeatable god. Like, Batman is the hero of that game, because he's like, how do we beat a god? How do we beat someone that powerful who is bad, who has gone off the rails? And that's a much better take on Superman. That is a postmodern take. And the whole idea that we're supposed to digest Superman now in this age, that's why I was skeptical of the movie before I went in. And then I was like, when I was watching it, I was like, not only am I skeptical about this character, but this is a complete piece of shit movie. Like, I was more interested in Zod, because Zod is more interesting. Zod is more interesting than Superman. Like, because he's shown to be complex, at least in the beginning, and then they just throw all that out the fucking window when it gets to the end of Act 2. They're just like, fuck it, make him evil. They're so lazy. They're so lazy. They're like, you know, that it's just like, well, someone has to be the bad guy for Superman, like, because Superman doesn't have any character, because they're too bad at writing him, that they can't define him as himself without something evil to face off against.
Okay.
Like, he's not interesting on his own. Like, so they make Zod interesting, and then when it comes time to be like, well, but he's not why we're here, so Superman has to be the hero and save the day, they just throw all that out the fucking window because they can't be bothered, because they're not really interested. That's why it's bad, because the people that made it aren't really interested. They just want fucking big explosions and fight scenes and money shots, and that's why it's terrible. For me, that's why it's terrible.
And I know
Anyway.
a lot of Superman fans really hate what Eddie would say, the brilliant postmodern take on Superman where he becomes evil. Oh, that's just changing Superman. You're fucking wrong. You're just stupid. You want to live in this fantasy world where Superman can just save the world? Fuck that. Superman's a terrible character. But I didn't go into the movie like Eddie did, like expecting it to be bad. I really wanted it to be good because I heard Christopher Nolan had a hand in it, and The Dark Knight, to me, is the greatest superhero movie ever, bar none. And I wanted to see that from it. But it had, like we were mentioning with the tone and the direction that they attempted to take it, it tried everything to be The Dark Knight, but didn't have any of the meat and potatoes inside of it to really get there. It was like pantomiming the motions, like, this is a movie that's incredibly deep. Like
I said, Zack Snyder is almost criminally superficial. Like, that what we're saying is, it lacks the substance of The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight has substance, and it's written in. You cannot do this stuff by accident. It has to be deliberate. You have to be an artist. You have to be a writer. You have to know what the fuck is going on in your movie and why it is happening. And Man of Steel doesn't have that. It's made by a superficial man. I can't call him superficial. He might be a deep guy, whatever. But it's made by someone with superficial aesthetic interests. Like, he is interested in how stuff looks. Look at 300. 300 is a good movie because it's the story of the 300. That story has been around for thousands of years. And then Frank Miller fucking, like, basically just co-ops this story and makes an 80s graphic novel about it. And Zack Snyder makes the 80s graphic novel. He doesn't understand that the source material is what makes that good. Right? Because these were real people. Like, 300 actually happened. Like, that king was a real person. Like, it happened. It's part of ancient Greek history. Like, you can visit the site. It's a real place. Like, that source material is obviously better than this invincible man that no one can kill just decides to be a good guy because, shucks, he was raised in the heartland of America. Fuck you. Fuck off. And the whole Kevin Costner bit, you know, where, like, he tells Clark, you know, the bit where the tornado, he tells Clark not to save him, right, because it'll expose Clark to the world. I'm like, I'm sorry, bruv, but that's the most short-sighted shit ever. Like, you think really that this super god is not going to get exposed at some point? Come on. It's like, you couldn't keep that secret. It's like, Clark, stay in the closet. The world is not ready for your gayness.
Okay, listen. Even if they really wanted to... Frozen, a movie I hate, handled superpowers better. But anyway, like, the concealing of them and everything. I hate Frozen. It's a good Disney movie, but it's just so Disney it makes me throw up. But anyway, the whole bit with his father, I so badly wanted to connect with this. But as a writer, the scene and the whole setup of what they're doing, going through the motions in creating the things he said, which I'll attack the parenting of it in a sec, but him dying was so clearly a write-off. There's a thing, like, we've been saying a lot of jargon too that I probably should have defined more for those of you who don't know what we're saying, but when you say writing a character off, it literally means some excuse for this character to die because we need a plot point. That's because this is exactly what happens. Tell me how this is, like, the dog runs to the tornado, Dad goes to save it instead and tells Superman to stay here while I go die. Like, it's so stupid and contrived. And I compared this back to some people on Twitter arguing about this. Compare this to a movie that has more of a reputation, Twister, which there's no superheroes, didn't any of this fancy shit. Twister, the tornado comes over the little stupid shack that they have. They didn't close the thing right. Everything about that scene, you can look it up on YouTube. Everything about that scene builds tension. It builds a reason for Dad to actually have to defend him. Like, there's so many better ways they could have written Dad protecting the concealment of Superman other than jumping on the sword. Like, that's such a... It makes me so mad. You can comment on that if you want. Otherwise, I'm going to move to the flashback scenes and the non-development of Superman's character, whichever way you want to go. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. You can go. I have raised my contempt for that movie is so deep that if I think about it too much, I'll just talk forever. I'll be like, a lot of people will get pissed off at me because they're fans. Okay, look. I am not negative about something because I want it to be bad. I would love to walk into a cinema and be surprised and be encouraged that they had done something that I didn't think they could do, and make a character like that, which I was initially skeptical of, and craft a film and a story where I go, I understand Superman. But they didn't. And the fact that most people pay lip service to it is not a good enough excuse not to call bullshit when there's bullshit. I don't want films to be bad. I don't want to be negative about them. But when they are, I will be. Because Like, you could make a good Superman movie. You could. It's just like, I don't want the Star Wars prequels to be terrible, but they are. Like, and it's not hating Star Wars to say that wasn't executed as well as it could be. That's not anti-Star Wars. I'm not anti-Superman. I'm just anti how they did that. Like, the most interesting Superman story, I'm a fan of comics. The most interesting Superman story isn't even a Superman story. It's The Dark Knight Returns. It's the graphic novel set in the future where Batman has retired and he comes back. And if those of you that have read it, I don't want to ruin it for you, but that is a good representation of Superman. And I appreciate his character in that novel because he has a foil to work against, and that's Batman's character, which is intrinsically more interesting. But it's done by a writer who knows what the fuck they're doing, and it's really good. And this movie isn't really good. It's really bad. Like, so we have to say it.
It's a really bad movie pretending to look like a really good movie. That's what it's doing. But very important to me was, like, the non-progression of Superman's character. Like, arguably probably the best scenes of the movie, but it wasn't that interesting to me. Like, they do these flashbacks back to his youth, and probably the best one is when he's hiding in the closet for whatever reason and the teacher comes. But I'm starting to forget exactly why this was so bad. I had a better thought in my mind, like, I think when I first saw it. Do you remember these things? Do you agree with me, though? Like, they didn't progress his character at all. Like, for instance, each one, this is a problem. Each one was just about the same thing. Oh, Superman decides to not show he's Superman. Like, he's getting bullied and he just walks away.
Yeah, social exclusion. It's showing that he is separate and different from humanity, and that he is lonely and isolated, and that it's really about how he becomes the symbol for all of us, even though he wasn't accepted by us. That same, like, hackneyed kind of point is that he's not of us. He's actually not human, but he chooses to be human. That's what makes him so great. Okay, fine. You can have that setup, but he's not... Right, just as an example of how uninteresting Superman is that the moment where I suspend my disbelief because there's a computer program that can roughly approximate the whole presence of his father, that gives him lectures on how to be a person and a decent human being, that argues with the bad guy, this computer program that approximates and transports up to the anyway, right? If you have a character that's more interesting, that is supposed to be a reduced version of a personality that is essentially a computer program regurgitating lines pre-programmed to say, and that is more interesting than the main character of your movie, you have a bit of a problem. Because the whole Russell Crowe bit, where he's put back, in his fortress of solitude. I'm sorry, I can't get over some of the ridiculous terms in Superman's lore. It's hilarious. I have my fortress of solitude. How very serious. How very serious. But yeah, anyway, I know what you're talking about. The stupid flashbacks when he's a kid. He's scared to be around humans. They don't accept him. Oh, all right. Okay. It just felt like going through the motions. The whole film felt like it was showing you what it thought you wanted to see.
Yeah. There was nothing impactful to me at all with much of any of that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a Superman movie attempting to be the Dark Knight, which is an awesome movie for a very long list of reasons, which the same criticism we're going down and scathing against the Man of Steel, it's almost the exact opposite with the Dark Knight. So it's not that we have too high of standards that can't be met. It's just we have standards that we would like to be met. Like, I don't know. Anyway, do you have anything more on Man of Steel, anything like that?
No, I don't. I mean, aside from, I found it funny that you picked out that the one thing that most people pick out is like, oh, Superman kills someone at the end. Superman does kill people. It's Batman that doesn't kill people.
Not in a movie, supposedly. I don't know. That's what they said.
Yeah, but in the comics, like in the source material, in the canon, he does kill people. He's not above killing people. Because, of course, as a symbol of America that incorporates corporal punishment, there comes a time comes a time where you just, it's either you or him. So he does kill people.
See, I think the reason Eddie actually doesn't like Superman is because he hates America.
I love America.
You clearly do not, because Superman is America. So if you hate Superman, you're basically
you can't
a communist.
boil down 300 million people.
This is what
into a symbol.
Fox News would say about Eddie the Chump right now, that he is a terrible human being for not liking Superman, and he's a communist.
I'm un-American. I'm not un-American at all. I'm actually half American. My mum's American. I have an American passport.
You don't sound American. That's all I know. That's
Yeah,
all that matters
American.
to me.
Yeah, and you really sound like Native American. Like, this is what I find hilarious is, like, you can't be American if you have a certain accent or you sound this way. Well, I don't know if all you guys are the descendants of Europe, which most of you are. Like, I don't know if you're that similar to the people that you replace, who were Americans.
Well, no, but we came here. My white ancestors killed and disseminated a whole bunch of brown people. So now the white people own this land. And if you don't talk or look or think like us, you don't belong here. Well, I don't see why that's so hard to understand.
Because the founding documents of your country state quite the opposite.
And it was just talking to us, the white people that wrote it.
Yeah, the Dave Chappelle sketch. All men are created equal. Make me a sandwich.
Yeah, I know. I'm being sarcastic. Anyway, do you have any closing comments before we close up the show here, Eddie? Other than making me a sandwich.
Superman. Watch Batman instead.
Thanks, guys, for coming out to the show. Be sure to check out our sponsors. Link in the description. But fuck, I forgot to mention this. God damn it. The letter to the editor thing. We'll mention it next week at the beginning, because only a certain percentage of people last to the end, and the crazy fucks kind of taper off like throughout the show. The most dedicated fans watch the entire thing, and once they get there, they're not going to write into the show. They're already agreeing, nodding, and like, yes, you guys are great and excellent, and everything you say is right. They're not going to write into the show. We need some fucking batshit crazy motherfuckers to even make a sock account just to amuse us, please. Do so. Give me something to work it. And I'm skating around this, but letter to the editor. We want to make this a segment on the show where anything we cover, or something you would like us to cover, whichever you want to do. Let's open the floodgates. Send in a private message to me and pour your heart into a nice paper thesis of why you disagree or want us to take a certain angle on something, and we will cover it on the show. Sounds fair.
Yeah, but if you want us to take us seriously, proofread it.
Please, for the love of God. Microsoft Word. Jeez, it autocorrects for you.
It does it for you.
Just right click. God damn it. I'm not asking you to use semicolons correctly, for God's sakes. Just fucking spell. Jesus.
This is coming from two dyslexic people as well, I might hasten to add.
I don't... Spelling is so fucking overrated, but when you have autocorrect, let it do it. Like, don't write like a fucking idiot. I mean, even if you spell things wrong, but they look similar to the word, so you can still understand it, that's fine. But if you just type, you know what the fuck I'm saying, make some sense, goddammit. Like, oh... Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Cool. Well, I guess we'll see you guys next week.
Later.